There's a certain romance we've been sold about small-town America. The front porch waves, the Friday night football, the diners where everyone knows your order and your grandmother's maiden name. For 10 specific towns scattered across this country, it's an absolute lie. These are places where the population dwindled, not because people moved away for better jobs, but because something in the soil, the history, or the very air itself told them to leave. Towns where locals don't wave at strangers. They watch them. Where the welcome signs feel less like greetings and more like liability waivers. Over the next 20 minutes, we're visiting 10 of the creepiest small towns in America. Places where the paranormal isn't a tourist attraction. It's a Tuesday. Towns burning from the inside out. Communities built on unmarked graves. Villages so cursed that their owners patrol the borders to keep you away. If you make it to the end, you'll understand something fundamental about America that no travel guide will tell you. We are very good at burying our darkness. We're just not always great at keeping it buried. Number 10. Marfa, Texas. Marfa is the kind of place where a Prada store sits in the middle of the desert with no merchandise for sale. And somehow that's not even the strangest thing about it. Population, roughly 1,800. Median household income, around $38,000. Median home price, somehow north of $400,000, because nothing attracts wealthy artists from Brooklyn quite like complete desolation. The primary industries appear to be minimalist art, excellent Mexican food, and unexplained aerial phenomena documented since 1883. The Marfa lights. Mysterious orbs that appear at night over the Mitchell Flat, hovering, splitting, merging, and disappearing in ways that defy easy explanation. The official viewing platform sits about 9 miles east of town, and on any given night, you'll find tourists, true believers, and skeptical locals who've seen the lights hundreds of times and still can't explain them. Scientists have tried. The University of Texas sent physics students in 2004 who concluded the lights were car headlights from Highway 67. The only problem? The lights were reported 20 years before the first car ever drove through Presidio County. Apache tribes told stories about them centuries before that. During the day, Marfa feels like an Instagram fever dream. But at night, something shifts. The desert gets cold fast. Temperatures can drop 40 degrees after sunset, and the darkness out here isn't like darkness anywhere else. No streetlights outside the 3-block downtown. No ambient glow. Just you, the stars, and those lights. One longtime resident told a journalist, "The lights don't scare me. What scares me is why they chose this particular place to appear. It's like they've been waiting here, waiting for us to finally ask the right question. Nobody's figured out what that question is yet." Speaking of things appearing out of nowhere, let's head to West Virginia, where something showed up in 1966 and never quite left, despite the 46 people who died shortly after. Number 9. Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Point Pleasant would very much like you to think of it as Mothman's hometown. They've got the museum, the 12-foot stainless steel statue, the annual festival that draws 15,000 visitors to a town of barely 4,000. But here's what they'd prefer you didn't dwell on. The reason Mothman became famous is one of the deadliest bridge collapses in American history. And some people believe the two are connected. Between November 1966 and December 1967, over 100 residents reported seeing something. A creature 7 feet tall, with a 10-foot wingspan and enormous, glowing red eyes, near an abandoned munitions plant, on rural highways, outside people's windows. Then, on December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour, dropping 31 vehicles into the icy Ohio River. 46 people died. The Mothman sighting stopped almost immediately. The bridge investigation concluded that a single eye-bar chain failed due to stress corrosion, mundane engineering failure. but the timing haunts people. 13 months of something appearing. Then tragedy. Then silence. Today, Point Pleasant has a population of around 4,300 and a poverty rate near 30%. The Mothman Museum charges $3 for adults, which tells you something about both the town's economic situation and its commitment to accessibility. Some residents still report sightings. Nothing like the 1966-67 wave, but occasional glimpses. Most don't talk about it publicly. One resident told a paranormal researcher, "We learned our lesson about what happens when we see things." Point Pleasant turned its trauma into a tourist attraction. Whether that's healing or just a creative form of repression, only the town knows for sure. Now let's visit a Kansas town with a population small enough to fit in an elevator and a cemetery that supposedly leads somewhere you really don't want to go. Number 8. Stull, Kansas. Stull isn't a town so much as a rumor that happens to have a zip code. Population, approximately 20 people. Not 200. 20. An unincorporated community 15 minutes west of Lawrence, Kansas, completely unremarkable except for one persistent legend. The abandoned cemetery on the hill is one of the 7 gateways to hell. The story goes that Pope John Paul II refused to allow his plane to fly over Stull during his 1995 visit to Colorado. That same year, Time magazine included Stull Cemetery on a list of haunted places. Teenagers have driven from as far as Nebraska to trespass there, looking for the staircase that supposedly leads downward into nothing. The reality is somehow both less and more disturbing. Stull Cemetery was originally called Deer Creek Cemetery. A simple stone church stood there until it burned in 1922. The walls remained for decades, empty and roofless, until property owners demolished them in 2002. Why? Because people wouldn't stop coming. The legends apparently started in the 1970s, when a local newspaper ran a story about supposed satanic activity. By the 1980s, Stull had become a destination for thrill seekers, especially on Halloween, when Satan was supposedly able to visit his child buried there. Yes, the legend includes Satan having a child with a local witch. The legend is not supported by any credible evidence whatsoever. But here's what's real. The Douglas County Sheriff's Department dramatically increased patrols after repeated trespassing and vandalism. In 2013, a trespasser fell through a hidden well and had to be rescued. You're not welcome in Stull. Not because of anything supernatural, but because the legend attracted exactly the kind of attention that makes 20 residents lock their doors whenever an unfamiliar car slows down near the cemetery. Do I believe Satan lives in rural Kansas? No, but I believe something dangerous happens when enough people treat a place like it's cursed. The belief becomes its own kind of haunting. Let's visit a Nevada ghost town so perfectly preserved in its abandonment that it feels less like history and more like a warning. Number 7. Rhyolite, Nevada. Ghost towns are, by definition, empty. But Rhyolite manages to feel more empty than empty should feel. It sits on the edge of Death Valley, and what's left looks like someone hit pause on 1911 and walked away. Because that's basically what happened. Rhyolite was born in 1905 after gold was discovered. Within 3 years, it had between 5,000 and 10,000 residents. Electricity, running water, a stock exchange, an opera house, 3 newspapers, the 3rd largest city in Nevada. Then the financial panic of 1907 happened. The gold ran thin, and by 1920, the census recorded just 14 people. By 1924, everyone was gone. What's haunting about Rhyolite isn't the tragedy. Mining boomtowns were always temporary. It's the physical evidence of how quickly the dream collapsed. The train depot still stands, solid concrete, like it could service trains tomorrow. The bottle house, constructed from roughly 50,000 glass bottles by a miner in 1906, still exists. He lived there less than a decade before the town emptied around him. The Goldwell Open Air Museum now sits at the town's entrance, featuring massive outdoor sculptures installed in 1984. The most famous piece, The Last Supper, depicts ghostly white figures gathered at a table, faceless, slightly melting, deeply unsettling at dusk. Visitors describe electronics malfunctioning, cameras refusing to focus, the feeling of being watched in buildings empty for a century. Is Rhyolite haunted? Probably not literally. But it represents something disturbing about American ambition, the absolute certainty of people who built that opera house, who enrolled 250 children in school, that this was going to be the place. They were wrong in under a decade, and their mistake is still standing there, waiting for you to see what happens when confidence meets reality. If you want something less metaphorical and more murdery, our next stop involves a 1912 axe and a bed and breakfast that makes American Horror Story look restrained. Number 6. Villisca, Iowa. I need you to understand that what I'm about to describe is a real business operating in a real town. The Villisca Axe Murder House is a bed and breakfast. For $428, you and up to 5 guests can spend the night in the home where 8 people were bludgeoned to death with an axe in June of 1912. The house has been restored to its 1912 condition. Photographs of the crime scene are available for your viewing pleasure. This is Villisca, Iowa. Population, approximately 200. On the night of June 10, 1912, someone entered the home of Josiah and Sarah Moore, who were sleeping along with their 4 children and 2 overnight guests, young girls who had stayed after a church event. The killer used an axe belonging to Josiah. Every victim was struck multiple times in the head while they slept. The investigation was a disaster. Hundreds of people trampled through the crime scene. Evidence was contaminated. A local businessman was charged, but acquitted. A traveling preacher confessed twice, recanted twice, and was also acquitted. The case has never been officially solved. Today, the murder house is the most visited tourist destination in Montgomery County. People report experiences, cold spots, footsteps, children's voices. Some leave convinced the house is haunted. Almost everyone leaves shaken by the simple fact of sleeping where it happened. One overnight guest wrote, "I kept thinking about how normal that night must have seemed before it wasn't. Church event, friends sleeping over. Nothing wrong until everything was." The locals who weren't involved in the tourism industry told a journalist they wished people would stop coming. That being known for the worst thing that ever happened there felt like a punishment they didn't deserve. They're not wrong, but the Axe House is still open for bookings. Let's scale up to an entire town that died, not from a single event, but from the slow accumulation of its own worst decisions. Number 5. Cairo, Illinois. There is no creepier feeling than driving through a town that used to matter and realizing that nobody lives in most of it anymore. Cairo, pronounced Cairo, sits at the southern tip of Illinois, where the Ohio and Mississippi rivers converge. In 1920, it had a population of 15,203, a river trading hub, a railroad junction, a city that looked like it might become one of the most important places in the Midwest. Today, the population is under 2,000. Driving through feels like visiting Pompeii, if Pompeii had a Hardee's that closed in 2019. Entire blocks of ornate Victorian buildings stand vacant. The architecture is gorgeous, clearly constructed by people who expected the city to thrive forever. And the decay is comprehensive. A 2010 report found that over 40% of the town's buildings were abandoned or uninhabitable. What happened to Cairo is not mysterious. It's a history lesson nobody wanted to learn. The town was deeply segregated. In 1909, a black man named Will James was publicly lynched while thousands watched. Pieces of the hanging rope were sold as souvenirs. When integration pressures increased in the 1960s, white residents and businesses fled rather than share the town. The boycotts were mutual. Nobody won. The population collapsed. The tax base evaporated. Walking through Cairo today, you feel something more disturbing than supernatural presence. You feel consequence. You feel what happens when a community chooses destruction over coexistence. The median household income is now around $22,000. The poverty rate exceeds 40%. The remaining residents are mostly elderly, mostly black, and mostly trapped in a place that the rest of America drove past without stopping. One local described Cairo as a town that killed itself and won't admit it's dead. That's creepier than any monster sighting. That's looking at what we're capable of when we decide certain people don't count. Let's venture into something more manufactured. An Ohio town that exists mostly as legend, where truth is almost impossible to separate from what people wanted to believe. Number 4. Helltown, Ohio. First, there is no town in Ohio actually named Helltown. What people call Helltown is a collection of abandoned properties in Boston Township, Summit County. In the 1970s, the federal government began purchasing land to create what's now Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Residents were bought out. Houses were boarded up. Some were demolished. Others were left to decay. Then the legends started. Someone said there was a satanic church in the woods. Someone else said there were mutants from chemical spills. A third person insisted escaped mental patients roamed the properties. An old school bus sat rusting on a back road, clearly attacked by mutants or Satanists or whoever. None of this was true. The Satanic Church was actually a Presbyterian church with Gothic architecture. The mutants were invented entirely. The school bus was just an old school bus. But manufactured creepiness works anyway. Helltown became a destination for teenagers looking for thrills. They came from all over Northeast Ohio, daring each other to walk into the woods. The legends evolved. Each generation added details presented as established fact. Today, Boston Township has residents who are exhausted by their reputation. They live in a national park. They pay taxes. They have nothing to do with the legends. One resident told a local reporter, "We'd love it if people remembered we're a real place with real people. Instead, we're the punchline to a story someone made up 40 years ago." Helltown is a case study in how badly humans want certain places to be evil. We looked at abandoned buildings and decided they must be hiding something. We invented the monsters because emptiness alone wasn't satisfying. If you're craving something with actual bones to it, let's head to Arizona, where a ghost town became a living town again, and the ghosts apparently didn't get the memo. Number 3. Jerome, Arizona. Jerome was the wickedest town in the West, which in the late 1800s was really saying something. Perched on Cleopatra Hill in central Arizona, about 5,000 feet up, Jerome exploded into existence because of copper. At its peak in the 1920s, approximately 15,000 people lived here. Miners, merchants, prostitutes, gamblers, and the criminals who inevitably followed money into the mountains. The underground dynamite blasting was so aggressive that entire buildings began sliding down the mountain. That's not metaphorical. The Jerome jail slid 225 feet from its original location due to mining subsidence. It's still there, sitting at an angle it was never designed to occupy. The copper ran out. The mines closed. By the 1950s, fewer than 100 people remained. Jerome was officially designated a ghost town in 1953. Then something strange happened. Artists arrived. The empty buildings were cheap. The views were spectacular. Slowly, Jerome repopulated, not with miners, but with painters and sculptors and the inevitable shopkeepers who follow. Today, Jerome has about 450 people, a thriving tourist industry, and more reported ghost sightings per capita than almost anywhere in Arizona. The Jerome Grand Hotel, a former hospital built in 1926, claims to be one of the most haunted hotels in America. Guests report apparitions, inexplicable sounds, and waking with the distinct feeling that someone was standing over their bed. The former bordello has employees who refuse to work certain rooms after dark. One longtime shop owner said, "The dead aren't scary here. They're just still around. We're the newcomers. They have seniority." Jerome is the rare ghost town that became unghosted, and apparently nobody told the original residents. But if you want something that actively drives you away, that the government declared unfit for human habitation, we need to go to Pennsylvania, to a town that's been on fire since 1962. Number 2, Centralia, Pennsylvania. The first thing you need to understand about Centralia is that there is no town anymore. What remains is a network of empty streets, cracked pavement, occasional cellar holes, and an underground coal fire that has been burning continuously for over 60 years. At its peak, Centralia had about 2,700 residents, a coal mining community where everyone worked the mines and attended the same churches. In 1962, firefighters burning trash in an abandoned strip mine accidentally ignited a coal seam. They tried to extinguish it. They failed. The fire spread through underground tunnels. By the 1970s, residents noticed symptoms: sinkholes opening in backyards, carbon monoxide seeping into basements, the ground itself uncomfortably warm. In 1981, a 12-year-old boy nearly died when a sinkhole opened beneath him, exposing a steaming abyss 150 feet deep and 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Engineers estimated extinguishing the fire would cost over $600 million and might not work. Instead, in 1984, Congress allocated $42 million to relocate residents. Most left, but not everyone. At its lowest, Centralia had fewer than 10 residents, mostly elderly holdouts who refused to leave. They fought legal battles for decades. The state eventually agreed to let them stay for the remainder of their natural lives. When they die, their properties will be seized and demolished. Walking through Centralia is one of the most unsettling experiences available in the eastern United States. The town's grid is still visible, streets leading to empty lots. Occasional smoke rises from cracks in the ground. The fire could burn for another 250 years. There's enough coal to keep it going until 2270. Centralia inspired the video game Silent Hill, and once you've been there, you understand why. One remaining resident told a documentary filmmaker, "People ask if I'm scared. I've lived here 60 years. The fire isn't coming fast. It's patient, just like me." But for our final destination, we're going somewhere that actively refuses visitors. A village in Connecticut so associated with tragedy that the current owners prosecute anyone who tries to enter. Number 1, Dudley Town, Connecticut. There are places that feel haunted and places that feel forbidden. Dudley Town is both, not because of what supposedly happened there, but because of how aggressively the living have worked to erase it. Tucked into northwest Connecticut in the town of Cornwall, Dudley Town was never technically a town. It was a small settlement in dark entry forest, a name referring simply to the dense canopy that blocked sunlight. In the late 1700s, several families settled there, including the Dudleys, who gave it its informal name. The settlement never thrived. The soil was poor. The location was remote. By the mid-1800s, most residents had moved. By 1900, Dudley Town was essentially gone, nothing but stone foundations and memory. Then the legends started. The Dudley family, people claimed, was cursed. Thomas Dudley was supposedly beheaded in England for conspiring against King Henry VIII. His descendants were plagued by madness, murder, and suicide wherever they settled. When they came to Connecticut, they brought that curse with them. Residents of Dudley Town went insane at higher than normal rates. They saw things in the woods. The village was destroyed from within. Most of this is nonsense. Historical records show residents moved for economic reasons, like dozens of other abandoned New England settlements. The Dudley curse appears to have been invented in the early 20th century. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1924, a group formed the Dark Entry Forest Association, purchased the land, and declared it a nature preserve. Today, that association still exists, and they are extremely serious about keeping people out. The road is gated and posted. Signs warn of prosecution. Caretakers patrol and report intruders. Fines are significant. The association releases no information, grants no media access, and refuses to explain what they're preserving from whom. This secrecy has made the legends worse. Now people claim the association is hiding something, protecting a site of genuine supernatural power. Cornwall itself, population around 400, median home prices over $500,000, has complicated feelings about its infamous landmark. The tourists coming for Dudley Town trespass at night, leave trash, and occasionally injure themselves. One resident told a local newspaper, "People come here looking for evil. They want so badly for something horrible to be true. And when they don't find it, they convince themselves we're hiding it." Is Dudley Town cursed? No. It was a failed agricultural settlement, abandoned for normal reasons, mythologized by people who needed the emptiness to mean something. But that's almost worse, isn't it? What the Dark Entry Forest Association is really protecting isn't a curse. It's stone foundations slowly disappearing under leaf litter. It's the certainty that if they let visitors in, those visitors would destroy what's left while looking for something that was never there. Dudley Town ends this list because it represents something essential about American creepiness. We can't leave abandoned places alone. We need them to be haunted. We need the emptiness to contain a reason, a villain, a warning. We project fears onto cellar holes because the alternative is admitting that sometimes things just fail. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes the forest takes it back. That's what they're really keeping out. Not treasure hunters. Our need to make everything into a story. So there you have it. 10 towns where the welcome mat was never put out, or was pulled back and hidden. We've walked through burning ground in Pennsylvania, past Mothman in West Virginia, through legends in Ohio and murder scenes in Iowa. We've stood on streets that used to have names, in towns that used to have futures. The answer to why some places feel wrong is this. We put it there. The creepiness. The sense that something's watching. These towns didn't become haunted by themselves. We haunted them. With our stories, our expectations, our desperate need to believe abandoned places are abandoned for reasons beyond economics, beyond bad luck, beyond the simple truth that not everything built to last actually does. Maybe that's the creepiest thing of all. Not that these places are evil, but that we need them to be. Subscribe if you want more. Leave a comment if you've been to any of these places. And the next time someone recommends a charming small town for your next vacation, maybe ask why they're so eager to send you there. Some places don't want visitors, and some places shouldn't have them.